welcome into a Tuesday, September 13th edition of the Unreasonable Odds podcast. I am your co-host, Julian Edlow, along with Steve Buchanan. We are from DraftKings. You can find us on Twitter at Julian Edlow, at SBuchanan24, and the podcast at Unreasonable Odd, no S. Week 1 in the books. We will be talking to Johnny Avello of DK Sportsbook as we did before week 1. We'll be talking to him actually on our Thursday edition, Thursday, September 15th of the podcast this week. Not today, probably because Johnny is still sitting somewhere counting money on behind the book of DraftKings Sportsbook, because man, did the public get whacked in week 1 of the NFL. Real quick, one way maybe you didn't get whacked is if you were using those easy early win promos. If you bet the Bills money line on Thursday Night Football, 7-0 first drive of the game, you instantly cashed your tickets. It was a 10-point promo if we went to the Sunday games, which, let me go ahead and pull these up, Steve. If you happened to, for some reason, I don't know why, but it was a crazy week 1, so maybe you did, bet Texans, Falcons, 49ers, or Titans on the money line, those teams all went up 10 and you cashed your tickets, yet none of those teams won the game.
Yep.
Say none of them won the game because Houston obviously tied the game. One of the many results that was just out of hand in week 1. The Ravens were that team, that 7-point road favorite that covered and won and took care of everybody. I put a poll up on my Twitter, Steve, on Friday. I said, which team blows that touchdown-ish road favorite teaser on whether it be teaser, money line? I put up, is it Ravens, Jets? Is it Niners, Bears? Is it Broncos, Seahawks? Or is it Colts, Texans? 8%. This time the public was right. 8% of you said that it would be the Ravens. And so that was the one that got through. The other 92% of you were correct because all those other legs blew it. Not to mention the Bengals lose at home as touchdown favorites over the Steelers. Never had a chance to cover. 5-0 turnover differential, but 2 kicks in the air to win the game, both miss. Yep. I keep rambling, but go ahead, Steve. Week 1 thoughts, because it was madness.
I mean, it should be illegal for ties first and foremost, and then it should be illegal for ties.
Ties are dumb.
And ties should also be more illegal in division. So ties, first of all, in division, ties even worse. You kind of had a bad feeling the first hour or so of the games, right? Every road favorite really did not look strong to start off the week, really with the exception of the Ravens and the Chiefs. Those were really the only 2 teams that were road favorites that you really kind of felt confident about.
Chiefs did come through. I should have mentioned them. A team, by the way, that going into kickoff week was sitting at 3.5 for a while and then smashed up to 6.5, and that one cashed.
Yeah, so the Chiefs obviously were the ones that I really did not have any lack of confidence about. The Ravens were in that same mix too as well. But for the Colts to come out as flat as they did against the Texans was shocking. And it was also one of the more popular survivor pool picks this week. So you're already out week 1. How awful is that? You get all excited to play survivor pool and you're out week 1. That's not how you want to start the 2022 season, but here we are. So football is officially back. We're sitting here, moaning and I almost said another word, but about how our bets went. So that NFL is officially back.
Yeah, I mean, my 2 first bets of the year, I put these out in June. I was on the Saints -4 and the Broncos -4. Put them out in June. I said, I think these have the potential to close 6.5. Falcons, Saints closed 5.5. Broncos touched 7 at times, came back down to 6. The analysis was spot on. Didn't matter. Wrong side of those road favorites. The Saints at least came back and won the game. Falcons falconed. It was very similar to the Colts. I thought the Colts were going to come back and win too. Had a kick in the air to win it, like many teams. Broncos had a kick in the air to win it. None of them go. Tough week for kickers in the NFL. But the CLV, the closing line value, didn't matter on any of those. So I got what I would call a good number on everything I played in week 1, and got my butt kicked in week 1 You did a little bit better than me, I think. At least your best bet, I know you had the Eagles Lions over, which was just a cakewalk.
Yeah, there was never any doubt about that too. And one of the biggest points that I liked about that game is that we always talk about how good the Eagles offensive line is. The Detroit Lions offensive line is also very good, and it's going to give Goff plenty of time to throw. And he looked, he made some Goff moments in that game, but I thought overall he looked good against a very strong overall Eagles team. But that team looked so good with the additions that they made in the offseason with A.J. Brown, the immediate connection that Jalen Hurts had with him in week one. He was a huge reason why that won, but it also showed that backfield is going to be nearly impossible to figure out on a week-to-week basis. Like, what running back on the Eagles did not score or at least get a goal line carry in that game? It felt like it was just a carousel of running backs in that one. So that's going to be really tough to figure out. The other game that I did do well on and I was happy about, and we talked about this on the show, I even said this game is going to end up ending and we're going to be like, they were only 3.5-point favorites, Dolphins against the Patriots. It was not even a competition here. I know Mac Jones ended up having some x-rays on his back. He said he's good to go. So, obviously his status for week 2 isn't much of a question, but holy crap, does that Patriots team look terrible? And I was saying this too on the show. We need to get this idea out of our head that the Patriots have a strong secondary on defense. They don't. And that was really, I think, exposed rather quickly with the Dolphins, with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle doing what they were able to do in that game. Stop fearing the Patriots as a defensive juggernaut because they are not that team anymore.
Yeah, one of the only things I got right in week 1 was Miami minus 2.5. Didn't matter that I got the good number. The Patriots only put up 7 points. And yeah, I went against my own advice. We did a segment on this show, like if the Patriots don't look good early, maybe look to just get in on Miami worse at a live number, whether it's 6.5, 9.5, whatever. All of those would have covered. I didn't do it, whatever, overwhelmed with work and everything else going on and my eyes on all the other games, and I didn't do it. And I should have. One thing that I did play live, I was looking all, Minnesota went from that sharp dog to a favorite. That was one that crazy. I said, keep your eye on that. If the Packers don't look right, get in live. I did get in live on Minnesota at minus 5.5 at one point in that game because you could just tell the Packers weren't going to have it and wound up getting there. But any other week 1 takeaways, Steve, before we get into week 2?
Let me pitch this to you. Did that win for the Vikings say more about the Vikings or more about the Packers? Because that is one that I'm actually still a little torn on.
Yeah, I think it says more about the Packers.
But isn't that really, see, and this is where I get confused, isn't that like more expected? Because like we expected Rodgers to struggle with the guys that he has, right? So maybe it's more about the Vikings at this point?
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. It really is both, because what it says about the Packers, they're going to struggle without Adams, and they didn't even have Lazard. That said, I don't mind the Packers to bounce back against the Bears, who beat the Niners in week 1. Like, this is what happened last year. The Green Bay took all the money, lost. Well, I guess Green Bay didn't have all the money this year, so that's the difference. But Green Bay took all the money last year, lost 38-3 to the Saints in week 1, and then dominated the Lions at home at Lambeau in week 2. So maybe it'll be something along those lines. Although the Green Bay got off to a slow start in that game before coming on late. For the Vikings, I think we expected them to be good. Justin Jefferson was fantastic, kind of as expected. But I like the coaching change, just getting O'Connell in there from Zimmer. Like that's gonna help them. So I like Green Bay to bounce back in week 2, but Devontae Adams isn't there. I don't like them overall on the season. I think Minnesota, and this is something we talked about, and we'll be back more officially with the week 2 picks on the Thursday show, so we can talk a little bit more maybe about the market today. One that you and I talked about, getting worse prices on teams after week 1 to win the division, but it's still a good price. I think Minnesota getting a head-to-head win against Green Bay and kind of getting a look at what Green Bay is going to be. I think Minnesota, they were plus 150 on DK Sportsbook, is a good bet to win that division. Yeah,
I was just going to bring that up too. Even though they beat the Packers handedly in that game, still second best odds to win the division at plus 150. I think that's just, maybe they're it feels like that the Packers will be able to bounce back in that game, in the weeks coming forward. But I love how the Vikings look. If they stay healthy, like they have a very good team and they have a good group of receivers. Even Irv Smith Jr., who was silent in that game, is a big upgrade from what they had from last year with like whatever it was, Kyle Rudolph or whatnot. Like that's someone that wasn't even featured in that offense in the last game, and another weapon for Kirk Cousins to go to. So getting them at plus 150 today, I think it's definitely something to consider for the rest of the season.
One other Division One, and this will tie us into kind of getting to look at Week 2. I put out Eagles minus 140 in the NFC East in my article. I think it has gone up.
Minus 150.
Minus 150. Okay. That's probably where I would go to on it, minus 150. It's just, sure, betting the Eagles minus 140 on Monday morning when you could have had them plus 150 on Sunday morning, you have to get over that. Because you know what we didn't know when we woke up on Sunday morning? That Dak Prescott would be getting hand surgery and the Cowboys would score 3 points and be 0-1. And the Eagles would be 1-0. And I don't care that Washington and New York won, although I think the Giants are my second favorite team in that division without even overreacting to Week 1 because I'm low on the Titans. You know how I feel about the Colts in that division.
Yeah.
But New York looked pretty good. That said, Eagles have the most talent in that division, and with Dak out for a chunk of time, regardless, even when he comes back with what Dallas has and what we've seen, I think Philly's the side there. So let's kind of start to tie that into Week 2. Week 2, by the way, if you did cash on any of those DK early win promos, that's going to be running again on Thursday night. So 7-point lead, instantly cash your ticket. It's Chargers and Chiefs at Arrowhead. I like the Chiefs side in that one, although it's gone up to 4. I got some early 3. So you got that promo again for Thursday Night Football. The Dak Prescott news, the look-ahead line on that game was Dallas minus 2.5 hosting Cincy on Sunday. As soon as the line came out, I put out my play on Bengals minus 6.5 in that game. It's now sitting at 8 as we record on DK Sportsbook. I was told by Sharps, that's, what are we at? That's a 10.5 point move on a quarterback. It's going to get bought back. I don't care if Sharps buy this one back. I'm not going to get scared from week 1. Bengals minus 6.5 is my spot for Week 2. Dallas was atrocious, and now you're going to have Cooper Rush out there. They put up 3 points, and you have a Bengals team coming off a home loss in which they lost the turnover battle 5-0, yet had 2 kicks in the air to win the game and didn't. The turnover regression is going to go back the other way. Like they're not. Burrow's going to take care of the ball. Mixon looked good. Chase looked fantastic. And they're going to score some points, and Dallas isn't going to be able to keep up. I don't care that it's the square play. This is my side. Teaser leg, whatever. Bengals are the first thing that jumps out to me in Week 2.
Yeah, I
said, by the way, watch out for the Steelers plus 7, and I gave on the sweat my hot take. Steelers are going to beat the Bengals. So it's not like I've been all over the Bengals. It's just this is their spot.
Yeah, Joe Burrow obviously showing the rust to start there, coming back from the appendectomy.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of turnovers that he has was absurd. Have we heard official word on Watt's status moving forward? I don't know if that's come out yet, that what his status is going to be moving forward after getting injured in that game. Talking about TJ Watt obviously getting injured in that game. What
he's
his
going to miss
status
sometime, but I mean that brings us to Patriots Steelers.
Right. So we'll get there in a second. So I'm a little bit conflicted on this Thursday game with Chargers and Chiefs. I want to take the Chargers at 4 because obviously that's, that would probably be the number right there. But the unknown about Keenan Allen is kind of what's tripping me up a little bit here, who had a hamstring injury. The latest that we heard, I think is as soon as this morning, as we're recording this Tuesday morning, is that he's unlikely to play, but not officially official there as of yet. So obviously that could be something that, Josh Palmer gets some extra targets. Austin Eckler, who was actually fairly quiet in week 1.
Allen's out, I believe.
Is he officially out? Okay. Yeah. So I don't love that, but I just feel like I definitely don't want to take the Chiefs at -4. Like I feel like that if you're going to take anything in this game, it's probably Chargers at +4 or above at that point. How do you feel about Chargers at +4?
Nah.
Yeah,
I like Kansas City here. Short week at home. The Chargers have gotten them in this spot before. The Chargers did win at Arrowhead last year, which I think is on
right.
the Chiefs' radar in this game. Um, I like the Chargers. They're a good team. I'm not fading them. I'm just backing. I'm down on Arizona. That helped Kansas City look good, but I just really like what I saw from Kansas City, even without Tyreek Hill. Kelsey's involved, spreading the ball around from Mahomes to the receivers. The defense was solid. That was a lot of just garbage time touchdowns from Arizona. Uh, I I just think with the AFC West, with all the additions, including Russell Wilson in Denver, like everyone else is now getting hyped and people are forgetting about the Chiefs, who still should be and are the favorites. And this is kind of a revenge spot after last year at Arrowhead to make some noise early in the season. Yeah, I just
The
think
other
in
big
previous
difference.
years, a lot of people would be jumping all over the Chiefs in this game, and now the Chargers have become the trendy pick, and I'll go the other way.
The other thing to consider too is that obviously the addition of Khalil Mack is so big for the Chargers. You know, they were able to win that game last year
Mm-hmm.
without Mack to disrupt, and Mack looked unbelievable in that game against the Raiders. 6 tackles, 3 for a loss in that one, 3 sacks. I think he ended up finishing with. And the fumble, and that is going to be such a difference maker for the Chargers, who are still going to be without J.C. Jackson, obviously their big acquisition in the secondary, but being able to disrupt Patrick Mahomes, I think, is going to be something that is going to be potentially a big factor in this game, because Mack is such a difference maker, and that's something they didn't have last year, despite still winning that game. So I'm leaning Chargers in this one here. We will give our final picks when we record on Thursday, but it's if it was when it got to 4, that's I think when I really started getting some intrigue here.
What else, Steve, jumps out to you early on the week 2 board? Before I just give some quick thoughts, I guess.
I think that the Steelers are a great tease leg this week, going against the Patriots, getting them at +7.5. I just have zero faith in this Patriots team as a whole. They did not look good last week. Do I think the Steelers are going to be able to go up and down the field against them necessarily? No, but there was nothing the Patriots showed to me that they should be the favorites in this game against the Steelers. And obviously, you're not going to get that many turnovers from the Steelers against the Bengals like you did last time, but they were better even. Like, take a couple of those turnovers away, they were still the better team than the Bengals last week. They should absolutely be the better team than the Patriots this week. So getting them as underdogs in this one, like, would you be surprised if this ended up shifting kind of like we saw with Minnesota and Green Bay as we did in week 1?
Well, it's kind of shifted didn't it come down closer to a pick and then went back this way? So sharp money's coming in on the Patriots. It's a good spot in theory for the Patriots. They had chances to score more points than they did in week 1. They're coming off a double-digit loss, whereas the Steelers are coming off an upset win as dogs. Like, the spot is Patriots, but I'm not betting on the Patriots because I don't believe in them, but I don't think I can go with the Steelers at this point. Like, they just squeaked out a game that they won the turnover battle 5-0. And now they're coming back home after a big win. Like, I can't bet the Steelers, so I'm going to stay away in this game. Sharp money's going to be on the Patriots. I just don't know. It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me either way. It wouldn't shock me if the Steelers let down. It wouldn't shock me if the Patriots just look awful again. So I got to stay away from this one.
One thing I think, slightly surprised about to start off was seeing the Raiders as 6-point favorites, home favorites against the Cardinals. Were you surprised that says? I was expecting a lot shorter odds, I guess I would say, than 6 points.
Maybe a little shorter. And I don't have the look ahead number in front of me, but man, Arizona looked bad. And, Raiders coming off a loss, they were at least, Carr looked bad, but they had a chance in that game still.
Yeah.
The Raiders should definitely be favored here. Maybe it's a little heavy. I think the Cardinals are just going to have a tough time. Like, they could be a bad team. They finished last year bad. They play even worse without Hopkins. And they were so overhyped coming out undefeated for however many weeks it was last year. I think they're due to take some steps back. So that's another one, just not much of a feel. Not going to touch it. Not going to tease the Raiders down to get the win, although I think that they should
Right.
win. This is a tough week for teasers when you look at the numbers across the board.
Right.
A couple of spots that I do like, Saints +3 at home against the Bucks. The Bucks cruise against the Cowboys, but that said more about just how bad the Cowboys were. The Bucks could only muster a touchdown there. Now Godwin's out.
Yep.
And the Saints look awful against the Falcons before coming back and winning that game. Now they're at home. I think Brady is 1-4 against the Saints, or 1-4 ATS against the Saints since coming over to the Bucks. This is just a bad spot for the Bucks. Good spot to buy on the Saints. I don't mind taking the 3 there. And then I like the Lions against Washington. They lost that home game, but offensively they showed they're very capable. Washington is not going to have that. They put up 22 points in a comeback victory over the Jags. They're not going to have that firepower that the Eagles had to keep up in a game like that. I think this is where the Lions get their first win of the season. So outside of getting Bengals at a good number at 6.5 early, my favorite spot, Saints and Lions are my two kind of early leans there. Outside of the Bengals, those two division plays were the ones that I put in my best bets for week 2, which is out on the DraftKings playbook. But other than that, now there's so many these 10-point home favorites like Broncos, Texans, Packers, Bears, Bills, Titans in the early Monday night game. The 49ers are somehow getting 9 against the Seahawks.
9.
Do you bet? The Rams are laying 10.5 against the Falcons. What do you think about the Seahawks? Because they looked good. And the Niners, I know it's this, mucky game in Chicago. I don't believe in the Niners. I think the Seahawks are better than people think. But I can't bet the Seahawks in this spot. Short week after the huge emotional game, the Russell Wilson Bowl, and now you're going on the road after Monday Night Football. I can't do it. But I don't. Normally, if this were week 3 or week 4, Seahawks +9 for sure.
I can't buy into either team right now. I don't feel like I saw the true team in either game.
But generally, when you're saying that about two teams, I can't buy either of these teams, we're talking about a field goal for the home team. We're talking 9.
Yeah. Right. And I think that's what makes it so incredibly tough, because you have to throw almost everything out of that Niners Chicago game because of how much of a slop fest that was, although there was way too much scoring in the end. Because did you end up taking that game to be the lowest scoring game of the Sunday games?
I took the Bears. The hot take, or the special that I gave out on our Sunday Sweat show was Bears +750 to be the lowest scoring team. I took Bears +750 to be the lowest scoring team. They had 0 points with a few minutes left in the third quarter.
Yep. So that was very disappointing. And then it ended up being the Patriots game that ended up being the lowest scoring on Sunday, I think is what it ended up happening, because the Patriots just couldn't score.
No. Wasn't the Sunday night game lower? It was Bucks Cowboys, which nobody had.
Oh, you're right. Yes. You're right.
Dallas was the lowest scoring team, and that was the lowest scoring game, which would have paid.
Yep, you're right. Oh, wow.
I played the first.
Absolutely.
I played the first half under. I put out the first half under in that game, which cashed easily. But that was the game that we all overlooked, I guess.
Yeah, I couldn't take any more beatings. I passed on that game altogether. I couldn't take any more. It was the first Sunday of the year. Bet responsibly. Manage your bankroll. Yeah. But yeah, I can't buy into either the Seahawks or the Niners yet. The Seahawks did look good. Geno Smith did look good last night, Monday night against the Broncos. But, this is a much better defensive team in the 49ers. If they have Kittle back too, that's going to be a big boost for that offense. So I just can't buy into any team on this one. I actually might end up playing the under 42.5. I think that if you were going to take a play in this one, I feel like that might be the play under 42.5, because once you start disrupting Geno Smith, I think that's really where the Seahawks are going to start to become shaky on the field.
All right. I have one more game that we will touch on unless you have anything else. And then
Nope.
I have a couple of baseball questions for you, and then we'll get to more heavy hitting NFL on Thursday. Any other game you want to talk about before I go one more?
No, go ahead.
All right. Jags Colts. Awful look for the Colts on Sunday, tying Houston. They did what they always do. They come out and look awful in week one, but then come back from 20-3 in the fourth quarter, come back for the 2020 tie, miss a game-winning kick. I don't know how to play this one. The Colts have lost, 6-7 in a row at Jacksonville. Never a spot that they win, but they're coming off such a letdown. I don't mind. I haven't bet it, but I don't mind Indy -4. It's such a good matchup for them. But I think the better bet than Indy is probably just going to be Taylor props again.
Yeah.
Indy went down 20-3 against Houston. Taylor still managed 31 carries. Now, I know the game went to overtime, so extra work, but 31 carries for 161 and a touchdown in a game that the Colts trailed wire to wire, essentially, until it was tied up. You want to look at the games against Jacksonville last year for Taylor, 21 carries, 116 and a touchdown. And then in the one later in the year, 15 for 77. That was an under. I'm probably going to, and I passed on Taylor rushing yards. I don't know why. I just
that was a mistake.
I think he's gonna get there yet again in week 2, win or lose, and I think win for the Colts.
No, I'm with you on that. I think that's definitely the route to attack this one game. I don't really like either side in the game overall, but I think with the Taylor process, going to be the way to go.
All right, we'll be back with NFL plays with Johnny Avello to go over the week one thrashing that the public took, preview some week 2, all for the Thursday pod, as well as a guest to give out our week 2 plays with Steve and I. But before we wrap up, I do want to talk some baseball, Steve, because I have some questions. Something that I love to do, regardless of sport, is bet these award markets in season. Now, I don't mind getting a quote unquote, I'm using air quotes here, a bad number because whatever. Cease 12-1 Cy Young in April, May, All-Star break. Cool.
That's what I got.
But we know, yes, you do. I don't. But we know what we know now. This is like the Dak injury and taking the Eagles -150 versus +150 a day later to win the division. There's what is it? Verlander at +105, and that's the only other guy in the equation to win the AL Cy Young, and he's hurt. What is Verlander's timeline here? Like, when is he going to pitch again? The Astros should be saving him for the playoffs, and you have Cease -140, who is probably, if it was given out today, the guy, and he's going to get a few more starts here to close out the season to kind of wrap it up for a White Sox team that's battling for a division.
Yeah, I'm surprised that this took so long to kind of shift from Cease from Verlander to Cease, because Cease was literally untouchable after getting absolutely rocked against the Red Sox on May 24th. He gave up 7 runs on 8 hits through 3 innings. Like that, and before that, 2 starts before that, 6 runs on 6 hits through 4 innings against the Yankees. He was getting rocked. Wasn't doing well. Then after that, he didn't give up more than an earned run from May 29th to almost 3 months later on August 16th, he gave up more than an earned run.
That's a ridiculous streak.
That's ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. And Verlander was doing good. He's still good. But it's like he wasn't as dominant. I think he's still striking out less than a batter an inning at this rate. Like, it's close. I'm looking it up right now. It's close. But what's his K now right now? 9.1. So he's just over that threshold, striking over a batter an inning. Cease has unbelievable strikeout stuff. His strikeout per 9 innings is over in the double digits, 10 or 11. And I think if the Astros are smart, they just call it curtains with Verlander until the playoffs.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I didn't know if you knew anything there, because I just glanced at this morning, Tuesday, September 13th.
Yeah.
And didn't do any research on like where Verlander's at. Like, do we know anything about a Verlander return date? Because I'm thinking if he doesn't pitch again,
No,
the -140 on Cease that's it.
no. So the idea is that he potentially could come back later this week. He's going to play catch coming up, and then
When did Cease
potentially.
last start? When's he going to start again? I ask because I'm seeing how
So
much time I can buy myself on the Verlander news before Cease pitches again to try and get it at the right time without it moving.
yeah, so Cease actually should be pitching tomorrow. I
All
believe he
right,
should
tight
be.
window.
If he's, yeah, it's a very tight window. But still, that being said, like I think it should go to Dylan Cease. Like now, obviously, my opinion doesn't matter. But when you put these two together and look at what they've done over the course of the season, I think this is should be Cease, and I'm glad that he is the favorite right now because I think he should be. I think he should have been a while ago, and that's not even because I'm invested in it. I'm just talking truly. Like if Verlander has been pitching better, then I would say yes, Verlander is the guy who should be getting this. I think it should be Cease. So if he is pitching tomorrow, which is I'm trying to confirm right now, I'm just trying to see who his matchup would be against. Okay, so it's Cease against the Rockies. So that's a great start in Chicago. They're not in Colorado. They're in Chicago. That should be a good start for him. Some good strikeout upside there. Obviously, the Rockies' offensive numbers away from what the Coors Field are dramatically different and not in a good way. So this should be a spot where Cease should dominate, and he's getting close to getting his ERA under 2. He's at 2.06 on the season. So if he has a couple good starts, he has the potential to be under 2 for the season. That should be your Cy Young.
And let me add on, Cease and Verlander, I know went head-to-head at least once this year, and the White Sox got that game. Cease won that game in the head-to-head, which, I don't know, if you're a little old school and it's literally a coin flip between the two, and a guy won the head-to-head, I don't know, that's means something to me, I guess. It probably doesn't mean anything to baseball nerds, but...
That being said, Cease was not strong in that start, though, either. Right. So that should be mentioned, too.
Again, like I can't believe, people love betting preseason awards at big numbers. I can't believe that sports books like DK Sportsbook give us the opportunity to, like, what's the last day of the baseball season? 2 weeks from now? We've been playing for months.
No, it's going into.
We've been playing for months every day, and there's just a couple weeks left, and you can still bet these awards, which I know it's -140, and Steve has 12-1 or 14-1 or whatever. But knowing what we know now, like this is what I did in NBA. I bet Jokic. It was at least at a good plus number. I think +175 or whatever it was late in the season to win the NBA MVP. And what do you know? He won the award. Like there's a couple weeks left in the season. We kind of know where things are going.
Yeah.
So the other one I wanted to ask you, I've got my Julio Rodriguez AL Rookie of the Year ticket in pocket. Talked about hedging off at times. He's -2,500 right now. I'm looking forward to cashing that one. I know you have him too. I don't get the NL. Strider had that monster strikeout game. I think he's touched as high as -300. Now he's back down to -140 on DK Sportsbook after he lost on Monday night, right? Did the Braves lose that game? Let me look it up right now.
Against the Giants?
I know he went over his strikeout prop.
He had 9.
Yeah, 9 strikeouts, but they lost the game. Oh, they almost come back and won. Yeah, they lost the game by 1. So I don't get why Strider's going backwards. And it's to his teammate, Michael Harris, who bats, 6th, 7th in the lineup, hits over 300, a lot of doubles, 18 home runs. I looked pretty good. But, that Braves lineup, he's the 3rd, 4th, 5th guy in the Braves lineup that got them where they got to. Strider is their ace and could be in the Cy Young conversation. How is Strider -140? What am I missing? Because I think I'm going to bet 2 -140 MLB awards today. Cease to win the Cy Young and Strider to win the NL Roy.
I think here's the thing with Michael Harris. The second half of the season for him has been absurd. Absolutely absurd. 10 home runs, 30 RBI, 35 runs scored in the second half, hitting .339. So far this month, he's hitting over 400 this month. So has come up big for them.
Strong finish.
Has come up big for them. Before the Mariners came back and beat the Braves on Sunday, Harris had one of one of the home runs to put them back in, because they were down by 4 runs. Harris had a 3-run home run in the 9th to get the Braves back into this game. He has done this over and over and over again. And I think the thing that people overlook too, the majority of his games this season, he's been hitting 9th. 64 games this season, hitting 9th.
That good?
When he's batting
good
9th,
or bad?
Well, let's put it this way. He's hitting 9th, okay? Out of the 9 hole, he's hit 303 with 12 home runs, 38 RBI, 44 runs scored. To get that type of production out of the 9 hole is absurd. That guy hitting 9th is like literally almost like a guy who should be hitting 4th or 5th, getting that in the 9 hole. So he's getting all of these runs because he's constantly getting on base. And then the Braves lineup up top is so good.
Right.
They're knocking him in. So his numbers are so inflated hitting 9th.
So I'd look at that as not a negative, but like not something that helps him. Because if they're just going to use him hitting 9th, and you're just using your good hitters at the top of the order to get him in when he should be a guy that's higher in the order. I don't know. It's like that old trick of whatever.
Well, he has been hitting. He has been moving up because they have to move. They have to move.
I saw he's been hitting 6th, but like it's that old trick of like use your second best leadoff man to hit 9th. I know you lose an at bat, but it just kind of starts the cycle of the top of your order higher. That's kind of what they're doing with him. I don't know if that makes him less or more valuable is what I'm saying versus like the value that Strider has. And again, this isn't an MVP award. It's a rookie of the year, which is, a little bit more open to interpretation.
So for me, it's like what member of the team has been more valuable? The lean for me is Harris because of the contributions and the clutch hits that he's had. Strider has been phenomenal, and there's nothing that I can take away from how good that he's been for someone that wasn't really even in the plans of their rotation to start the year. But when I think about like clutch moments, big moments, and the value to the team as a whole, I give a slight edge to Michael Harris.
All right. Maybe talking me off that one a little bit. I like Strider. I don't quite get it, but all right, we'll see. If I play anything up, I'm going to put it out on Twitter. My MLB season record, not good as you'd imagine, but and I'll put that out. But my futures card, I'll highlight. These are futures plays, so I'll be retweeting it with my futures. My futures card is looking pretty strong. Parting thoughts, Steve?
We'll see you on Thursday.
For Steve Buchanan, for Julian Edlow, for the Unreasonable Odds podcast, we'll be back on Thursday talking everything NFL Week 2. We'll have Johnny Avello to give a look behind the DraftKings Sportsbook. We will have a special guest to give out plays. Speaking of plays, we didn't give out anything concrete today that you can still get. College football, Friday night lights, FSU at Louisville. Louisville played last week, went on the road as 6-point dogs, beat UCF after getting smashed by Syracuse as a favorite in week 1. I think Louisville's being a little bit overvalued here. You're coming off a big win, a little bit of a letdown spot here on Friday night against a FSU team that is coming off a bye week and got that road win over LSU. So now FSU has 2 weeks to prepare for a team coming off a big emotional road win on the Friday night game. And Jordan Travis looked really good at quarterback in that LSU game for the Seminoles. I bet it at a -130 money line, put it out on Twitter. I like it up to -2.5. It is at Louisville. FSU Friday night is going to take down Louisville. Right, Steve?
I wrote it down with a crayon.
Beautiful. You always have crayons on you, it seems, to take notes, which is rather childish. For Unreasonable Odds, we will see you on Thursday. Thank you, guys. Odds and lines are subject to change. If you know anyone that has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.